So if you haven't been paying attention over the last several years, a lot of companies have got into the Glock clone game. This specifically is a Gen 4 19. And Lone Wolf has gotten in that game as well. They actually got in that game quite a long time ago with their frames, and now they've got the straight-on pistols, which is this one. This is the LTD 19 V2 slide on there. They do have a V1 as well, and they do have just the frames, and I think they also have like a builder frame too. Now this Lone Wolf LTD 19 is definitely not the cheapest Glock clone out there. If you're looking for something in that much more budget realm, you're probably gonna wanna check out the video on the PSA dagger that I did. I will leave that linked in the description down below. And a huge thank you to Mr. Big Kid over at Mr. Big Kid Media, because this one's actually his. He let me borrow it for the review, and I think I'm gonna send it back to him nice and dirty. Let me know in the comments. Either way, he is a super cool guy, and I appreciate him letting me use this for the channel. You can check his out in the link down below. Good stuff going on over there. But let's see this thing out on the range. You know, I really love doing this, and that's just the best part, that range experience with this thing, because you get to just test them out. That's just always the best part. Better than breaking them down, cleaning them, everything else. I think we can all agree with that. But in all reality, is the Gucci or Gucci-esque Glock thing, is it still a thing? It was huge for several years, and I'm really curious to know, do you guys think that companies are still gonna be coming out with these kind of Gucci-esque style Glocks now that people have maybe kind of gotten over that a little bit, or maybe people that built those are kind of done building them? Well, let's go ahead and get into the specs on this thing, check it out, do the trigger pulls, and do all the stuff you guys want to see and know about this, because there's a lot of really good stuff going on with this thing. Before we get into that though, a huge shout out to TacPack. They are a big supporter of the channel. If you don't know what they are, it's a subscription service. You could get everything from small parts for your builds, camping gear, fishing, hunting gear, knives, of course. They send a ton of those out. But they're good people over there, and they have been a big supporter of the channel. So if you want to check out TacPack, I will leave them linked down in the description for you. But let's go ahead and get into this thing right now. All right, the Lone Wolf LTD 19. So if you don't know, this is a Gen 3, Gen 4 clone of a Glock, which is this right here. This is a Gen 4 19. It happens to be the compensated version from the factory, but this is how this thing comes. So we're going to go through the specs on this, talk about the good stuff that's in here, and go through all of those things so you guys understand, and of course what it comes with out of the box. So before we get into that, make sure you guys get subscribed, turn those notifications on down there so you get them when they come out, and of course give the video a like if you like what's going on, and let me know what else you want to see. So in the box, we're going to get our kind of standard plastic injection molded box. You're going to get a magazine. I believe this comes with a mag pull. This is a loaner from Mr. Kid. He didn't give me mags. I used Glock mags. They work fine. You'll get your lock, you'll get your manual, and that is pretty much it. Besides the pistol, and you will get an additional back strap right there. So it comes with a thicker and a thinner back strap. Kind of gives you more of like a 1911 or SIG-esque style angle if you're into that. So we'll get the box out of the way. As far as the main like specs go, like light, length, width, height, all that weight stuff, I'm gonna list that right over here for you guys to look at. And we're just gonna start going through this thing piece by piece. And we'll break it down because there's some very important things inside that you need to know. So this is a much less aggressive grip angle than a factory Glock. It does come with a polymer mag well, as you can see right there. Pretty good, not bad at all. Gives a nice lip for your pinky if you got those bigger hands, or if you just like to have that edge. It attaches right in there in a pretty cool way, much like the Shadow System stuff, where the insert is in here, so it's not like a screw on the back. A little bit cleaner of a way to do things. Very Glock-esque style stippling on the sides, on the back, and then just a little bit different on the front. Kind of some straight lines with almost some checkering down the middle. Up into that trigger guard, you can see we've got a nice undercut up in there, so you can get your finger really high up in there. Gen 4 mag release, you can see it's a standard 3-pin design, but you'll notice the pins are pretty well depressed in there, which is kind of a nice little touch. You'll see that we've also got a little bit more of a beaver tail right there, which is always nice. It'll help you control recoil. You get a extended slide stop, slide release right there, and then a standard takedown lever, a standard looking Glock trigger, but that is not a factory Glock trigger from looking at it. Then you come forward and you get 2 nice slots on the rail right there. Very interesting thing, as you can see right there, one of them is Picatinny size and the other one is the smaller kind of Glock size. So interesting, but nice that we have 2 slots. Looking forward, we'll take a better look at this up close. You can see that insert right there, so you can run Gen 3 or Gen 4 slides on this. That way you don't have that big, gnarly, ugly gap in there if you're running a different Gen 3 slide, because they do have the frames sold separately. Coming up into that slide, this is the V2, so you can see a lot of slide work here. Deep, deep rear serrations right there. So you can see much, much deeper than factory Glocks. Same with the front, very, very deep serrations. Got some nice windows there, kind of like an angular line going all the way back that kind of carries off at the end. Same thing on this side. You'll see you have that Lone Wolf logo right there on the barrel. Much cleaner than the old logos they used to have. And then you'll obviously see that we've got that kind of, I think, freedom beak is what people like to call it, where the muzzle is a little bit exposed right there. Very angular, very cool design. Not the best for holstering or reholstering right there because of those harsh angles. And then we top this off with factory Glock plastic sights. So I don't know, but let's go ahead and break this down because there's some stuff inside that we need to talk about and go over, and then we're going to do some trigger pulls. So one thing you might notice right off the bat is every metal part in here is actually polished to a very high standard, which is definitely nice because, you know, this is a little bit more expensive. Everything from the rails, the connector, the trigger bar, you can see very highly polished. Even the ejector right there, well done. I like to see that kind of attention to detail out of things. And then it looks to be that the locking block in here is a factory style Glock locking block, but it does appear to be NP3 coated. So I wasn't able to verify that, but it looks like NP3 on there. So overall, well done. And you'll kind of see up front, that is that insert that you can take in and out if you're running a Gen 4 slide on this, or the Gen 3, you leave that in so it closes up that gap. So not bad overall on the frame. The trigger, pretty standard Glock trigger. The safety here on the trigger shoe is not going to go flush. So as you can see, you're still going to have that part sticking out, digging into your finger out there all day on the range. Talking quickly about the slide right here, some more good stuff going on here. You do get a stainless steel solid guide rod, which is a nice touch right there. And you'll notice the striker block safety, which is that fella right here. This is what blocks your striker from going all the way forward. As you can see, that striker fell forward when I pressed it. It's been nicely rounded and polished. So that's going to make the trigger feel a little bit lighter and definitely a lot cleaner. Same thing with the striker right there. It has been very highly polished. So that is definitely a very cool thing to see. And another cool thing to see is there's not just logos all over this thing. You got the one logo right there on the side of the barrel, and then you've got the LTD 19 V2. Looks like lasered up into the slide. And then the frame, you're just gonna have the nomenclatures across them, and then Lone Wolf right there on the back. So clean and well done when it comes to polishing and logo work. And you do have a nice metal anti-glare backplate as well. Not bad at all. So let's do some trigger pulls and see what this is pulling at. Now they say it's like, I want to say their website said like 5.5 to 6, but we're gonna do some pulls, and I'm gonna let you be the judge on this one. So I'm gonna pull from a couple different places. I always pull low because that's where I strive to get my finger, because you get the best engagement and the best feel. So first pull is going to be 5 pounds, or just under, about 4 pounds and probably 14 ounces. So we'll do a couple, like I said. I'm gonna pull as low as possible here on this one. And that one pulls down at about 4 pounds and 2 ounces. And then I'm gonna pull this one much more midline of the trigger shoe, just enough to depress the safety on it, about right there. And you'll see that one does go up to about 6 pounds and probably 6 ounces. So rule of thumb is if you can get your finger lower on the trigger, get it lower. But until you get really high on the trigger shoe, and I mean like high enough to the point where you have to get like way up here, the thing actually pulls between like 4.5 and 5 pounds. That's pretty nice. So I'm assuming they have their own Lone Wolf connector in there, and then all of that polish work definitely makes a good difference. What we really need to talk about now is the performance. Do we have any issues, the cost, and the reliability of this thing out on the range? All right, let's go ahead and get the performance issues and reliability out of the way right off the bat. Now, a lot of slide work here, a lot of good stuff inside, polished parts, rounded off, safety, striker block, all that good stuff in there. So do we have any problems? I did not. I got a couple hundred rounds through this, and I know Mr. Big Kid has, I think, at least a couple hundred rounds through it. I think he ran into like one issue once he put a threaded barrel in here and ran it suppressed. I think he had a couple failures to feed, but as far as how this thing out of the box ran, flawless. Had zero issues with it, felt fine out there. Recoil impulse was fine. Didn't have any issues with anything as far as cycling of ammo, whether it was ball, self-defense, or I think I had some reloads in there. I had like a box of like old ammo that I'm trying to like use that I didn't know I had. It was out in the garage. So I don't know all what was in there, but it saw a bunch of different types of ammo. Let's talk about the feels and the ergonomics, and I probably should say feel, not feels. English is hard. So as far as the ergonomics go, I like it because it's a much less aggressive angle. It fits my wrists and my angles much better. The magwell, it's okay. It's not great. It's kind of funky on the sides, but it's gonna work. It's gonna do what you need it to. It's just not the best looking thing out there, but function over fashion on this one, right? As far as everything else goes, I dig it. There are a couple of things I would have liked to have seen, like maybe give me a little bit of a thumb ledge or some stippling, some texture up here just to help out with that recoil impulse. But then again, we're asking a lot of something that may or may not cost a little bit more to do. And we'll kind of see how that thing evolves in the future, should they make any changes. But the overall design of it is pretty good. They improved on a ton of things that a lot of us, I guess, dislike or is just not our favorite thing about Glocks. Now, if you're a Glock fanboy, you may love Glocks the way they are. A lot of people love Glock for durability, reliability, and hate it for pretty much everything else, like the cheap sights, the bad angles, the bad texture, the bad stippling, the horrible trigger. And that's what these companies kind of strive to fix when it comes down to it. Trigger on this one, although factory shoe, feels pretty good overall and was pretty light as you saw on those pull tests. So job pretty much well done there, but I do have a few bones to pick with the LTD-19. But before, we need to talk about the price. So the V2 LTD-19, $699 as it sits. Now, I guess these are my things based on that price. And there's a couple ones that stood out to me right off the bat, 3 to be specific. Optic cut, $699 custom slide, a lot of slide work, no optic cut. What are we doing? Everybody's going to optics. So that. Number 2, plastic sights. So a $699 custom Glock clone has plastic sights on it. And then the last thing is going to be, come on, the factory style trigger right there out of a custom setup for that $699. I know we're asking a lot, but when it comes to something like this where you can control all of that, I would have liked to have seen all of those things on here. Maybe it would have taken up the price a little bit, but I think it would have been a far more complete package. However, there is a lot of good stuff going on there, like I showed you up close. They did pay attention to a lot of those fine details, and the performance has been great. These are just kind of my nitpicking things, I guess, but they're things that I would have liked to have seen, especially at that price point, or maybe just a little bit above, because when you get a little bit more than that, you start getting into shadow systems, and you are getting a full-on custom setup that's duty ready, very reliable and durable, with a lot of the other stuff that this one left out, like the trigger, the optics, and all those little things there. But it still gives you, I guess, if you want the slide work and all that stuff, you're also going to get metal kind of mid-height sights to run with an optic on something like the MR series or the DR series from Shadow Systems. So I think the Lone Wolf just kind of, it left a lot to be desired, in my opinion, for that price or in that kind of price range, when you can get into something that is going to give you everything for just a little bit more. But let me know in the comments, am I asking too much out of Lone Wolf for $699? Or do you agree with me and think they maybe should have just given a little bit more, maybe less slide machine time and an optic cut, something like that at least. But hey, there's a but for every seat. And I know a lot of people out there that like the Lone Wolves and the Timberwolf frames. So let me know if you are one of those people and why you agree or disagree with me down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and learning about the LTD-19. You guys get out there, have some fun on the range. Make sure you get subbed up, get belled up, turn the notifications on. All the links for everything will be listed down below at that parts or build list, so you can check it all out. And I would appreciate it if you'd use those, because those are affiliate links and they help the channel out. And always remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you guys on the next one.